Yeah, welcome to Bio 168 and 169. This is Anatomy and Physiology 2-semester course. It's going to use a specific textbook, lab manual, and connect card. When you go to the bookstore, whether you've purchased it already, you want to make sure you get it from the bookstore and not some used copy that may have pages missing from it or may have a connect card that is no longer usable. And the reason I say that is because you're literally going to use this textbook to answer questions directly in it. And I'll explain to you as we go along why when we finish the semester, the 2 semesters, the book will actually have most of the pages missing because the pages are going to be filled with your writing that you put inside of them.
You can show the book, Mark.
So
you
this
can have,
is
yeah,
the,
put it up
let
on
me introduce myself before I even move on. I'm Mark Van Cura. I've probably taught this course at Cape Fear for 25 years. And this is Marco Rabazzo, who's my videographer and editor. And I'll show you, first of all, this is the textbook. So this is a textbook that you're going to want to get. And you'll see that there's only one edition of it. And so this is the edition you're going to want to have. And then we're going to use that entire book for the course. So if you're in 168, we're going to be doing chapters 1 through 8. And if you're in 169, we're going to start with chapter 9 and go all the way through 19. So this is a textbook that you will use. It's not something that I always call a paperweight or an anchor for your boat. And on top of it, it's got a lot of material inside of it that you'll be able to use for your future careers in any allied health profession. The second book that you get with the bundle that you'll need is this book called the Interdisciplinary Healthcare Simulation Lab Manual. Again, it's got a lot of simulations inside of a lot of material. These are labs and that we'll be using 10 labs for 168 and 10 labs for 169. And besides those labs, there's other background material that we'll be using that you can, read to learn more about these concepts. I always tell students that what you get out of the course is what you put into this course. So that's what's really important. And remember, it's going to completely online. All the lectures are going to be these pre-recorded lectures, and I did that so you won't have to be sitting waiting for me to get on at 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning for a half hour or an hour and give you some type of lectures. So you can access these 24/7. You can, you'll see that as we move along through the blackboard, you'll see the specific things that have to be accomplished in this course. The one thing you don't want to do, especially during any semester, whether it's summer or during the regular year, is let grass grow under your feet. So don't just kind of wait and all of a sudden realize there's a lot of material to cover in this course. Because we literally cover every piece of thing that we could cover in anatomy and physiology. You also get a Connect card, and that Connect card is going to link you to a McGraw-Hill site. And that McGraw-Hill site is going to give you access to an electronic dissector for AP Revealed. It's also going to link you to a ebook for McKinley Third.
We'll show them that once we get through. Yeah.
And so the one thing I can just tell you, if you had me for 168 already, and you have a Connect card that links you to any of those books, you're going to have to contact me so I can get you an updated Connect card because it no longer uses McKinley Second, but uses McKinley Third.
So just to summarize, they should have, that bundle comes with three
pieces. So it's a textbook, a lab manual, and a Connect card. The next thing is I'm going to give you a phone number, and this is a number that, remember, I'm going to have what we call virtual office hours that you'll be able to contact me during those specific times. But I think that communication is really important with students. So I always say you can email me at any time, and I generally get back to you either immediately or certainly within 12 to 24 hours. So don't expect that it's going to be you emailed me on Thursday and I didn't get back to you till Monday morning. The other thing is, because a lot of times a student has some pressing problem that can't wait, so I give all the students the telephone number, and so the phone number is 919-603-7856. And what you're going to do with that is you're going to immediately, as soon as you watch this, I want you to save that number inside of your phone as a contact for Professor Van Cura or Mark Van Cura, whatever way you want to keep it. And in order to use that number, what you're going to do is you're going to text that number. And when you text that 919-603-7856, I want you to text me your last name, and your section number. And that will then allow me to email you back or text you back or telephone you back and not violate any type of FERPA law, because I have to make sure that the person that calls me is actually the person that has that cell phone, and it's actually the person that's enrolled in my class, so I don't end up communicating confidential information to someone else other than you. And that, again, I don't want you to just text me every time you have a question, but if there's something that's very pressing, just make sure you text me and I will get it to as fast as I can. But again, as soon as you get this number, I want you to save it in your phone as a contact, and therefore I can call you or text you and make sure if you're missing something, I can kind of keep you abreast of things that are going on or any changes or any questions that are pressing. So let's take a look at Blackboard and that. And you'll notice that all these classes that are internet or hybrid in that, remember the most important thing that you're going to see this school wants is something called an enrollment verification. An enrollment verification, and you click that first link there, it's going to be about a patient, and so you're going to read about that patient, and if you'll see it says the patient presented ptosis, meiosis, and anhidrosis. Using any source to find these words and see if you can figure out the syndrome. Now, I don't want you to feel that if you make a mistake with it, you're not going to get credit for it, because this is actually great. It's given points for it, and you'll see that it's got a point value of 20. But I want you to not just say, well, I think I'll just guess at it, and not spend a little time looking those words up. Because you're going to find out in anatomy and physiology, it's very important to learn definitions of words. It's very important to learn about prefixes and suffixes. And you'll see in the textbook, you're going to see a section that's dedicated directly to prefixes and suffixes. And you'll be surprised as you go on in your careers, whether it's an entrance exam or a board exam, how if you know a prefix and suffix definition, is that you'll be probably able to, by the best guess, get the best answer to that question. So that enrollment verification, you'll see, is going to have a due date there. It says Monday, August 21st, 2020. So on the 24th, by then, you're going to upload the answer to that. So now I'm just going to probably, do you want to walk down the rest of these?
Yeah, let's just walk down through
So the next one that says announcements there. And so you'll see there's the welcome to anatomy and physiology. And I tend to put announcements up quite frequently. Sometimes I'll put them up daily, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. Oftentimes when I put an announcement up, I'll also send you an email so that I have 2 ways of making sure you've read it. Again, the key to this class and the key to actually in healthcare is make sure you read. You want to read the entire sentence. You want to read the entire email. You want to read the entire text or an entire test question. I mean, that's the reason we have so many medical errors, because we kind of scan things but don't fully analyze. The next thing down is called Getting Started.
And this is just an overview of what is entailed in this Blackboard course, but we'll go through it, right?
Yeah, we don't have to spend a lot of time. You can look through that, and it tells what's in there. The next one down is the
course syllabus.
Course syllabus. Again, you can print off a copy of that syllabus if you want. I don't think it's important to do it. It basically follows, the school basically all follows the rules that are in the handbook. And so you can always go to the student handbook and look up specific rules. The best way to address any kind of an issue with this course is just to email me and tell me what the concerns or problems you're having. And we can probably subvert any kind of issue by just asking a very simple question. The other thing is when you email me, in the subject line, the best thing, even though it's got your name and the email address, just put your last name and section number. And then just, if it's a question, just write question, or if it's a concern, write concern, or something that lets me know that you need some answer on it very quickly, or something like that. Next piece down is instructor contact.
Well, it'd be course schedule.
Course schedule.
And this is just a calendar that shows you the assignments and when to do. And we're going to get into details of each of those assignments.
Okay.
There.
Next one down is
course. Yeah.
My course.
No, I'm sorry.
Contact
Instructor contact. Yeah.
So again, there's the telephone number that you can always text me again. There's my email address. You'll see on your email address, there's probably another one, mvancura1 They both go the exact same place. So again, you'll see I've already explained to you that I really don't like to have students waiting for someone to respond to them over a long period of time. The next one down would be the assignments.
Yeah,
and
the coursework.
It's broken down in coursework. Mm-hmm. So there's assignments, there's labs, and there's tests, or you could call them exams. And as we move along through the semester, you'll see there'll be assignments. Those assignments will consist of end of chapter questions. They'll consist of case studies. And plus, you always want to realize that sometimes during the semester, I may send you an extra credit question or send you some type of a critical thinking question. So try and log into your Blackboard every day, 7 days a week. Number one, it kind of shows me that you're still taking the class. And number two, it keeps you abreast of anything new. And if there's an announcement that I've put up, you'll go and read it, and you'll see that the more communication we have, the better this course moves along.
Let's show them how to submit a chapter review question. Yeah.
All right. So if I go to the textbook, so now I'm looking again at the textbook, and I'm going to know that if we're in 168, for example, there's going to be end of chapter questions. So these are called chapter review questions. So you'll see this is just an example of one of them. So what you're going to do with this is you're going to, on this chapter review, on each page, you're going to print your name. So I'm just going to write my name down here. I'm just going to say Mark Van Cura. And I'm going to say that I'm in section 168 I03. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to put your student ID, and I'm just going to put any number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as a student ID number. And then what you're going to do is you're going to answer each and every one of these questions directly out of the textbook, because these questions can be answered right from the textbook. Now, as you move along with some of these questions, you'll see that some of the questions, before the questions start, it will say this requires some internet research. And so therefore, these come directly out of the textbook. The other ones require you to try and look up on the internet or any source of trying to answer those questions. Because remember, we're going into healthcare. We're trying to somehow learn how to critically think. So once you do take that, you're going to either scan that document with the name, the section, and your student ID number on each page. You can either scan that document or you can take a picture of each page, and then you're going to take those either pictures or that scan and you're going to upload those to Blackboard. And so you'll see that there's going to be your assignment submission, and so you're going to attach that assignment that you did and you're going to upload that to Blackboard, and I'm going to then have a electronic copy of what you did. And the reason I do this is twofold, because number one, a big part of your grade, more than 60-65%, is based upon your end of chapter questions and your case studies. So don't ignore these questions, and also realize there's a lot of information there that I could never test you on all of that, but it gives you a basis not only for this course, but it gives you a basis for all of your future training in allied health, whether you're going to nursing school, occupational therapy, medical, dental. Remember, anatomy and physiology is anatomy and physiology, whether it's for a medical school or a PA school or a nursing school or a community college. It's the same course. Everybody's got 206 bones, whether they're taking a course in medical school or they're taking a course in a community college or university. All right?
Now, make sure that you are wary using the Blackboard app on your phone, because sometimes when you try to submit an assignment using the app, it may not go through. So if you have issues uploading those scanned photos or just scanning those documents, use a PC or a Mac to upload your scans or photos. That way, that will ensure that it goes through. In the past, I know Mark has had a lot of issues with students trying to submit their assignments using just their phone.
Right, and then when they submit it through their phone, they're looking at their phone and it's saying it went through, but in effect, when I look at my Blackboard, it's not there.
And the best way for you to know whether it went through is if you go to grades here in student resources, it will show up in the right here that it'll say submitted or still pending. As you can see, these are just a list of the assignments here, but we'll go through that.
And I can't
there.
emphasize how important it is to get that enrollment verification in on time, because that's the one thing the school really looks at. And if that isn't sent in on time, the school can automatically drop you from the course. So we've got to be very, very wary of that date. Okay?
The next thing I want to show them is that other type of assignment, which was these case studies.
Okay.
Right here, which is right below. If we step back, go to coursework, and all the assignments obviously are going to be under assignments. Go to chapter 1 here and go to this case study. This is the easiest way to register for your McGraw-Hill Connect card, is to go to this link where it says case study there. If you click on that, it's going to take you automatically to the assignment once you've registered. If you haven't registered, it's going to say, hey, would you like to register? And it will prompt you to submit the code that comes with the bundle.
Right, and the other thing I believe it's important here is make sure you use your Cape Fear email address for your Connect login. Don't start using some other Gmail or Yahoo account with some other name to it, because it's much easier. And I always tell students, log in using your Cape Fear email address, and also use that same password for it, so all of a sudden you don't forget your password, and now we're into an issue that you can't get on your emails and you can't get onto your Connect code card. So that's critical. And these case studies are actually linked into the McKinley Third, so that's why I also give you the ebook for McKinley Third. It's a great book, but it weighs probably, I don't know, 70 pounds. It'll tear your rotator cuff lifting it. but on top of it, it's very verbose, very lengthy.
Yeah, we can show them right here. If you
Yeah.
go to this McGraw-Hill Education
right here, you'll see that's the ebook that also comes with the package.
and go to My Connect section here, and you will see the case studies here, and then the ebook is right here.
And so if you go to that ebook, you're going to see that's that entire ebook from McKinley Third. Great book, but the number of pages, I can tell you oftentimes where I've made something more of a cookbook that is maybe summarized in around 30 pages, this would probably have it in 130 pages. And so I use that as a resource for you. And so if you feel you need to read a little bit more, you can always look more into it in that. And so that's where those case studies are actually going to be linked out of. Labs, I guess.
Yeah, we can show them labs. So if you go to coursework, under the assignments, there's labs, and you're going to need to use your lab book if you want to show them.
Right, so if we go to the lab manual again, so that's why the lab manual is important. Remember, we're going to be doing 10 simulation labs in 168 and 10 in 169. And so I'm just going to open this up. So here's the first lab for 168. And you'll see that talks about an arm deformity, isolated extremity fracture. So what you're going to do with that is you're going to see it's going to give you some information about that. Because remember, this is again for allied health. These are things that you want to learn. And then you're going to see it's going to go on with some pages of definitions. So it's going to have definitions of terminology. A lot of you have probably heard about Colles fractures or closed fractures or compression fractures. And then it's going to have the scenario skills and information. And then as you go along, you'll see what we did is we took the simulations using the medical simulators and we did actual videos of those scenarios and simulations. You'll go through all of that and you'll see that it's going to tell you that what you're going to be doing, what you're going to be watching, and then it's going to talk about the various learning incomes. And again, I always tell students, remember how I started this out, you'll get out of this course what you put into it. So, for example, if you really are serious about going into healthcare, you're going to see it says, things that you want to review. So, for example, it says, review the skill guide for breathing, respiratory assessment. Review the skill guide for capillary refill. You'll see inside of this lab manual, it tells you how to do a capillary refill. I'm going to press down on my nail bed and release it. And within 2 seconds or 3, I should have the color come back to my nail. So those are things that I think you're going to want to go over, and then you'll see there'll be a series of questions about the lab, and once you answer those questions, then you can probably just put them on a Word document.
Well, no, you're gonna submit it. Yeah, you're going to.
That's right.
Yeah, if you go to the end of that lab, yeah.
Okay, so at the back of your book, you're going to see a lot of copies of what are called student simulation worksheets. Mm-hmm. And so these student simulation worksheets, you're going to transpose the information from that lab. Because again, one of the big issues in medical care is we fail to document things properly. So if I go to this patient here, and you're going to see that it's got information that I'm going to transpose. So if you look right here, it says scenario name, arm deformity, name, gender, allergies, history. And that's what you're going to do. You're going to take and transpose the pertinent material from that sheet onto the top of this sheet. But remember, when you're doing that, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to put your name at the top of the sheet. So I'm just going to put Mark Van Cure real quickly in here. Remember, on any page, you're always going to put that when you submit them. I'm going to put in my course, so that's Bio 168 IO3. And I'm going to put my student ID of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, there'll be a series of questions that I'm going to be giving you about what you watched. And then after you watch it, you're going to see that if you look to the second page of this, there's going to be a place here for, I believe, the charting narrative. And in the charting narrative, where I'm going to have you do, I'm going to ask you to answer those questions that I ask you after watching the video.
Yeah, these questions, if I go back to the Blackboard, are right here in Blackboard itself. So you'll see there's a YouTube link right there where you go and watch the video, and then underneath you'll see like these 3 questions there.
All right, so that's your labs. And again, those are simulation labs, and again, you can watch them over and over again. And again, the more you look into the different skill sets for each of those different scenarios, you'll see the more you're going to be prepared for your future careers. The next topic on the Blackboard is going to be tests.
Well, test, yeah.
Right, and of course your exams. There's going to be 3 exams for 168 and 3 exams for 169. When those become available, we already have probably some tentative dates set for those. And
yeah, you can go to your course schedule and it'll pop up on that calendar.
Show when that is and when that's due.
Yeah.
And you already know what that's going to cover. So kind of think that if you're in 168, you're going to be covering chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to cover the first 5 chapters. So there's a lot of reading material in that first test. But again, I always tell students that we're going to focus on probably the bones, but I also want you to read those other chapters because there will be some questions from those. If you're in 169, the first test, because we're going to start out with the endocrine system, chapter 9, and then that's going to be chapter 9, 10, 11, and 12. So those are what are covered in the first test for 169. Endocrine system used to be a 168 topic, and now it's covered in 169. And of course, that second test will focus heavily. That first test in 169 will focus heavily on the cardiovascular system, but that doesn't mean you don't need to know the endocrine system. So again, as I've told you, because your tests are online, you'll have plenty of time to take the exam. They're not weighted as heavily as they were in a face-to-face course because they're unproctored, but it's a great way to evaluate, number 1, how you're able to retain knowledge, and number 2, getting you prepared to take a board exam, a nursing exam, a medical exam, where you'll have a timed test and you'll have questions very similar to these questions. Next one down is PowerPoints. I provided you with loads of PowerPoints for each of the chapters, whether in 168 or 169. And I'm not going to, when I teach this class, I provide these for students. I don't expect that you have to print those off and analyze them and memorize them. I think if you need to get further information about a certain topic, you can scan through them for some diagrams and that. But there's so much material in this course already. And if you basically read the textbook, answer the end of chapter questions, do the case studies, you'll be surprised how much you'll learn without having to go to PowerPoints. But again, I always have those available for students that have taken courses before where they had to print them off and try and memorize them and try and second guess what the instructor was going to ask on an exam. The next one down is...
It's just the link to
again,
McGraw-Hill.
McGraw-Hill Connect. You'll see that when you click that again, you'll see that we already showed you the ebook, but there's also, you'll see where that cadaver dissection tool is there. That's a really great tool because literally millions of dollars were spent to take a actual cadaver and dissect them with layers and photographs. You literally can dissect a cadaver entirely, starting out from the superficial epidermis all the way down into the organs and muscles and all the structures inside of the body. And you can go to different views. So it literally is a way to just, I tell students, rather than testing them on this, I tell them, we're all familiar somewhat with the skeleton, but if we, like he's doing that right now, so he's now looking at the latissimus dorsi. So when you get to the muscles in chapter 6 and it says latissimus dorsi, he can literally reveal that latissimus dorsi or the lats, and you can kind of visualize where something is. So that's the significance of this. Rather than giving a practical and say, name the muscle, anybody once they looked at this could tell me it's latissimus dorsi. Same thing with any of these.
Same thing for the 169.
Anyone 169, the same thing. So here's your respiratory system, and it's going to go through the nose and the internal structures of the nose and all of that, the tongue and all those structures. And so, if you kind of click that larynx there for a second, it's right there. You'll see there's your voice box. So when we get into the respiratory tract and we start talking about the larynx, a great way to do it is just take a quick look and see what it looks like in a cross section on a cadaver, because it's amazing how things don't appear in real life as we really think they do. We're so used to computerized animations that when we would get in a cadaver lab, we'd say, God, I had no idea it would look like that. So again, it's more of I've always taught this for all these years as more of a representational anatomy, because I want a student to be able to sit down with a patient, to sit down with the patient's family. If they ask, hey, my dad had cancer of the larynx, where's that located? What does the larynx do? What are the vocal cords? What's going to happen when we remove his larynx, or when we do a thyroidectomy? Are we going to cut the recurrent laryngeal nerve? So always think of clinical correlations, and that's what I try to focus on. Excuse me.
So that's about it. The next thing is collaborate, which we probably will not
we
use.
may use some collaborate if we have to. The problem is I see with collaborate is that there's so many students that I have, and you all of a sudden have got 50 students or 100 students that are trying to listen in at the same time, and one person asks a question and it becomes kind of a free-for-all. So I find that by doing the actual pre-recorded lectures, and it becomes an asynchronous class, and then if you have any questions about something, by sending an email or looking it up, or if there's something pressing, you can text me, you'll find out it becomes very straightforward.
That's about it.
It's basically your entire blackboard.
Yeah, I'm just going to show them. I'm just going to go to 169. It's exactly the same setup. It's just obviously different assignments. There. But the most important part after the first day is to make sure that you do the enrollment verification, and then the make sure that you have the right textbook bundle.
And the other thing that's really important, is you're going through this course, if you run into a problem, you have a death in the family or some medical issue, just let me know ahead of time. I don't need a medical note from some physician about it, but just let me know ahead of time if there's some issues you're dealing with, some personal problems that we can somehow work around. And I've had students take this class that are in the hospital that have surgery, and so I try and, the student comes first in these classes, so I try and really work so that no matter what, handicap you think you may have, I look at everyone as being on the same level surface playing field.
Yeah, so here I am in the 169 section, and it's the exact same layout, except 169 students will start on chapter 9 and go through, just like Mark said, 9 through 19.
Right, so they're the same thing. You know, when you go to chapter 9, there's going to be end of chapter questions. So again, you know, when I go to that, you'll see here's your chapter 9. So here's chapter 9 in the textbook here. And you'll see here's the chapter 9 endocrine system. When I go to the end of the chapter, I'll see there's questions, end of chapter questions. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to print your name at the top of the page. You're going to put your section number. You're going to put your student ID number on each page. You're going to fill in these questions, the answers to these questions. You're going to either scan or take a photograph of those, and you're going to upload those to Blackboard. Same thing with the case studies. Case studies, same thing. They're going to be linked to McKinley 3rd. You're going to answer those questions through your Blackboard. And then same thing, just like the ebook is available for 168, the ebook's available for 169. And that's really kind of the way the course flows. I think you'll really, is there anything else we need to really go? I think you'll really enjoy this class. I've taught literally thousands of people this same course, and I've taught this same course at medical school, I've taught it at university, I've taught it in community college. And like I say, anatomy and physiology is anatomy and physiology. So I hope you enjoy this semester. Remember, as soon as you get your textbook in that, make sure you've got your Connect card, make sure you have the proper books, and then make sure that you do your enrollment verification on time. And then as soon as you watch this video, make sure you text me your name, save that contact number, my telephone number in your contacts, and then make sure you text me your name, section number, and then I will save you in my contacts, and then we'll have a way of communicating 24/7. So have a great year, and if you have any questions, you know how to reach me. Thank you.